Swiss mountains, alpine meadows, Siberian forests, Arabic deserts. In the country of the Great Steppe, the country of romantics, brave trailblazers, strong by spirit people, conquerors of natural elements. Discover the new Kazakhstan with the program Extreme Routes. Extreme Route. In today's program, aerial tourism. At first, it all began with insane fantasies. Do you remember the legend about Daedalus and his artificial wings? What did Leonardo da Vinci's contemporaries think when they saw his first sketches of flying machines? Could they have assumed that although centuries later, the conquest of the sky will not only become an ordinary reality, but an accessible entertainment for everyone? Aviation tourism is a type of tourism based on flights, on lightweight types of aircraft, airplanes, helicopters, paragliders, and even hot air balloons. An important advantage of such a pastime is the optimal speed and height, allowing one to view monuments of architecture and picturesque corners of nature from the air.
Мало кто, допустим, за рулем может полностью окинуть взором, да, все, что находится вокруг него.
Few people can completely look around at everything while driving. But when a person is above the ground, the panorama is big enough, bright beauty opens. Landscapes of Kazakhstan are quite fascinating, and many tourists who have ever looked at this beauty from a height already prefer aerial travel.
Посмотреть на эту красоту с высоты, уже предпочитают все-таки действительно воздушные путешествия по воздуху.
It is difficult to overestimate the importance of civic aviation in tourism. It accounts for most of the tourist traffic. Everything matters here, from the state of air transport and its security to the wide availability of tickets. However, for more than 20 years, airplanes and helicopters are not just a means of transportation, but the purpose of the trip itself for many lovers of unusual recreation. We definitely have people who come to ride every weekend and holiday to mark an event or make a proposal. The pursuit of new adventures led us to Boralday, an airport of local airlines, located 5 kilometers northwest of Almaty. It was established in the early 30s of the last century, and up until the 2000s was called Burunday. Today, both state aviation and private air carriers are based here. Hello, Konstantin. Good afternoon. Glad to see you. Thank you. How are you doing? We are working. Finally, the day has come when we will fly. Yes. Today, we have prepared a small route. Takeoff, deviation from the flight chart, Koksay, Chamelgan, Mezhdurechensk, and return to the point. Perfect. Will you let me steer? Let's see how you will do. If everything goes well, you will bring us back. First, we need pass instructions. Let's go through it. Demand causes supply. The interest of Kazakhstanis to airplane and helicopter rides is growing, although not as dynamically as in Europe and America, but with inviolable constancy. Basically, people like it, although airplane rides here are in the process of formation. Development of private aviation is a little belated compared to the West. People are just starting to come to fly on a small plane and see the view of the terrain at a low altitude. People's emotions, of course, are good. As of today, more than 10 private airlines and travel agents provide aircraft rental services, and the geography of flights is amazing.
У нас очень много красивых достопримечательностей.
We have many beautiful sights which would be very interesting to see from a bird's eye view. We conduct route flights to the Kaskelen Gorge, over the Charin Canyon, along the mouth of the Ili River, over the Kapchagay water area, and many other routes that we have in Kazakhstan.
Ну и много других маршрутов, которые есть у нас в Казахстане.
The Big Almaty Lake, Lake Balkhach, Borovoy Resort Area, Sbensky Lakes, Katun-Karagai National Park, the Green Valley of Joly, one cannot list all corners of paradise, and even the capital of the country can be seen as if it were in the palm of your hand. Any whim. Plans from the height, including Astana. May 21, 1927, American pilot Charles Lindbergh made a flight which is still the most famous in the history of world aviation. On a plane with a poetic name, the Spirit of St. Louis, he flew from New York and in 33.5 hours landed at Le Bourget Airport near Paris. It was the first single flight across the Atlantic Ocean. Amelia Earhart set the next aircraft record of this scale only in 1935. The brave American on her Vega 5B aircraft made the first single flight across the Pacific Ocean in the world, starting from the Hawaiian Islands and landing in Oakland, California, 18 hours and 16 minutes later. And the Soviet Union had own pilot star in those days, quite comparable in popularity with the Americans Lindbergh and Earhart. It is about Valery Chkalov, who on June 18-20, 1937, made a transcontinental flight from Moscow to the American city of Portland, Vancouver, as part of the Chkalov-Baidukov-Belyakov crew, flying across the Arctic Ocean and the North Pole.
Это у нас самолет первоначального обучения F-40F.
This plane is the R-40F Aerostar. Can we see what devices and basic mechanism of aircraft control are used here? Oh, sure. Sit down on the right side. Go up the corrugated path. The handle is on the right. I'm holding it. Sit down. Here is the inner cabin of the plane. Instrumentation equipment, controls, seats. January 16th and 18th, 1957, three American heavy bombers B-52B made the world's first round-the-world non-stop flight. During the flight, they replenished the fuel 3 times from refueling aircraft. Within 45 hours, 19 minutes, these stratospheric fortresses overcame a distance of almost 40,000 kilometers by air. On October 4th, 2004, American pilot Brian Binney made the highest flight in the history of aviation on the Spaceship One. He lifted his flying machine to a height of over 112 kilometers above the Earth's surface, thus breaking the boundary between the atmosphere and the space. Introductory conversation took us no more than 15 minutes. However, for those who are inclined to prowl the air spaces by their own, there are special training courses. To get training at school, you need to undergo a medical examination, which gives the conclusion whether you can fly it or not. There's a tough selection. Aerodynamics, meteorology, aircraft design, navigation and communications, air legislation, these and other disciplines will take about 200 hours of study. Well, of course, practice is important. After that, we proceed to pass training in the cab, ground training, and 45 flight hours. Flight training perhaps is the most exciting and long-awaited part of the training. In total, to get the proud title of a pilot, you will need from 3 to 6 months. Of course, the certificate will not give the right to operate the Boeing, but it is quite possible to surprise relatives living in the neighborhood city by a spectacular visit with an aircraft.
Вы получаете свидетельство пилота ППЛ.
You get a pilot's certificate. You are allowed to purchase your aircraft and to make non-commercial flights, i.e. you do not have the right to carry people for money. You can make flights independently on the territory of Kazakhstan for yourself and your loved ones, observing all security measures and flight documentation.
Всю документацию, выполнять полеты самостоятельно на территории Казахстана.
In modern academic literature dealing with aircraft construction, the most common belief is that the first aircraft which managed to make the first sustained controlled horizontal flight was the Flyer 1, built by the brothers Orville and Wilbur Wright in the United States. This event went down in history on December 17, 1903. Flyer 1 stayed in the air for 12 seconds and flew about 40 meters. Almost a year later, the same Wright brothers have improved the model of their aircraft for the first time in the world, performed a flight in a circle, and in 1905, a flight along a closed route of 39 kilometers. And what do I do with the window? I'll close it all now. We put on the headphones. We start the plane, getting ready for the flight. The first plane to land in Almaty was on April 1st, 1919, not far from Malaya settlement. The whole city gathered on the landing site. The plane, under heavy conditions, made a flight Samara-Orenburg-Aktubinsk, then landed at the final point in Verny. Then it was the name of the current southern capital of the country, Almaty. The plane was controlled by military pilot Alexander Shavrov and mechanic Shemanuk, who came to Semirechye, cut off the fronts of the Civil War from the Revolutionary Center. On the shabby, collected by pieces, actually homemade plane, they flew from Orenburg to Aktubinsk over enemy positions in the snowstorm. Along the way, they encountered many difficulties. The water holder broke, powerful gusts of wind distorted the cables and wings of the aircraft. Later in Semirechye, on the same small salvage, Shavrov carried out reconnaissance flights more than once, flying more than 4,000 kilometers. Engine roar. A few more minutes and we take off. The tour will take only half an hour, but that's enough to enjoy the flight and, as a bonus, have time to make a number of spectacular selfies. Usually the beginners who fly for the first time take 20 to 30 minutes in order to understand the conditions, assess the situation. In the future, they return and fly longer. Classical aircrafts, of course, continue to develop, but much more promising and interesting are aircrafts with alternative sources of energy. The first such famous airplane was the Solar Impulse Sun Trapper, in which Bertrand Piccard and André Borschberg flew in May-June 2013 from the west coast of the United States to the east from San Francisco to New York. In the future, they plan to cross the Atlantic on the Solar Impulse and then make a round-the-world trip. There are no such people who would remain indifferent after such aerial excursions. At the same time, the flight can be as planned and calm and with breathtaking twists as the tourist wishes.
Поначалу, конечно, все пассажиры немного скованы, напряженные, потом садятся.
Initially, all the passengers are a bit stiff, tense. Then they sit down, you start talking to them, tell them about peculiarities of flight and what route they will see. They begin to relax, have fun. They take videos and pictures, enjoy the flight. In general, everyone returns glad and happy. They promise to come back and come back as a rule.
Довольные, счастливые, обещают вернуться, возвращаются, как правило.
Such excursion aircraft can accommodate from 3 to 6 people depending on the model, as you can safely go on a guided tour with friends or your family.
У нас есть маршруты, допустим, 20-минутные, 30.
We have 20 minutes, half an hour, hourly rates, etc. Accordingly, in 20 minutes we can fly around the airfield, 30 minutes as well. During the hour flight, for example, one can see the foothills of Kaskelen. We also fly over the water area of the Kapshigai Reservoir. If the route is longer, 2 hours, then we can visit Issek, Turgan, the most popular routes for this time.
Также предгорье. Самые популярные маршруты на данное время.
For security purposes, flights over Almaty are prohibited, but even for a short tour, we were able to fly around the picturesque surroundings of the city. Route Koksai-Chemalgan, Mezhdurechensk. The height of 300 meters is ideal. From this distance, you can easily see the buildings and the surrounding landscape. But the surprises did not end there. Under the strict guidance of the pilot, I was finally given control of the aircraft. It happened. I am at the wheel. I control the plane myself. Terrific. Even for a few seconds, I controlled the plane myself. It's just unforgettable. I'm overwhelmed by emotions. In recent years, flights on Soviet vehicles, especially military, are of great demand among tourists from different parts of the world. There are many Western companies that organize trips on combat aircrafts in the CIS countries for wealthy travelers. And representatives of the North American company Incredible Adventures, which specializes in extreme types of recreation, say that since the early 1990s, they have managed to ride more than 2,000 people on jet aircrafts. Meanwhile, it's time to return to the base. I was already drooping, but the landing approach brought a new range of impressions. Watching the pilot leveling the plane on the runway is both exciting and bewitching at the same time. Thank you so much. Let me shake your hand. Special thanks for the bright emotions. These will be awesome memories. We are always here, so welcome. I think I'll come to you more than once. I was always shouting. Hope I did not stun you by accident. It's okay. Are you accustomed to such shouts? Well, it's true, it's uncontrollable. It's just emotions, so they break out. Exciting aircraft tours around the country in just a day allow to get a charge of positive emotions and pleasant memories for a long time. Therefore, aerial tourism is an increasing competition for bored passive rest every day. Our film crew follows the numerous paths of sports tourism. The routes that pass through the mountains and steppes, forest trails and desert landscapes of our country. Join now. Kazakhstan is even more interesting